So let's jump into a different question. So what do we have here? AI can streamline sales, but what about hidden costs, like training the team to use these tools effectively? If the learning curve is too steep, are we really saving time, right? What do you think about this, Collin, right? Like, what are your initial thoughts?
I think it's too soon for me to have a clear answer on that today because we just don't really know what a lot of this looks like. You probably have a better sense, but this is a concern that should be had with adding any tool to the team, right? You have to do a sort of a cost benefit analysis. You have to understand how critical it really is. I've made the mistake in the past of signing up for everything that sounded like it could add value because I completely overlooked what this question is asking, which is the implementation, the training, getting people to adopt it, and then just the simple annoyance of having salespeople who are just bouncing around from so many tools, right, all day. And that adds an inefficiency. And so I have actually become over the years a big fan of HubSpot for that reason, because it sort of brings so much under one umbrella, right? And so I do think that there is a problem out there with too many tools. I do think that organizations tend to buy things and not fully implement them. And then they just end up with these tools that like maybe one or two people are using, or sometimes maybe no one's using them. So you do have to be cautious with that. Yeah. And I will give you an answer here to this question that applies to just all tools, which is that you need to really make sure that it makes sense and that you're committed to it. And if it's not going to become a big part of your process, it probably doesn't need to become a part of your process at all. That would be my take today on that. But that just applies to all tools in general.
Yeah, I agree. If we go a little bit more specifically on AI, I think there are different flavors of AI tools out there, right? So for example, if we're talking about different Copilot tools that sit in your like mailbox or on your Zoom calls, etc., right? The learning curve can be from like install the app and it's going to just run in the background to like, okay, how do I train it to kind of do the research properly, understand my tone of voice, etc. So I think the right way to answer this is when you're talking to any vendor, right, and AI vendor specifically, the question you should be asking is, what is your average time to value? And this is the question that we rarely ask in procurement, right? Like, when will I see first results? And then generally ask them in detail how the onboarding process looks like, right? Because something that I know in the AI AiSDR world for sure is that many of them take a lot of time to onboard, right? Because you have to set up the email infrastructure, you have to train the model for the specific messaging, et cetera, and you have to budget for it. With AI AiSDR, we take a little different approach, right? So we try to kind of make sure that the customer sees the results in the first months, and we like give you a dedicated customer success manager. But this is a very legit question, and you should discuss it in detail with the vendor you're interviewing, because it's different for a different provider. Okay, what do we have next? So one of the